Okay, we have a test on basic logs. Our first unit test on logs happening tomorrow. And I'm going to start you with an easy one here. Without a calculator, you should be able to tell me what that's equal to. How many of you know it already? Awesome. Were you thinking, oh yeah, this is 2 to the 4th, so the answer is 4. Very good. All right, here's another one, kind of on the easy side. What if I put a 2 here? Where could that 2 be put? Up here. But wait, wouldn't it be smarter to make this 16 into a 2 to the 4th and then move this 2 up? But that begs the question, is it 4 squared then? So is it 2 to the 16th or is it 2 to the 8th? When this 2 goes up here, will it end up being 4 times 2 here, or will it end up being 4 to the 2nd power? Well, to answer that question, I think we should just leave it here. Because do you get that this part equals 4? And then the 2 in front would be 2 times the 4? We know the answer is going to be 8. So therefore, I ask you again, if I put these parentheses back in right here, and then said if I put this 2 up here, you do multiply the 4 and the 2, don't you? Okay. All right, now let's go to a more difficult one. Log base 3 of 4x plus log base 7 of 7 is equal to 20. Wait, you say, Mr. Server, we can't combine those two because they have different bases. You're right, you can't combine those two. So what do? Who's got an idea? Sir? Yes, so you're going to replace all of this right here with a 1. Then, what should you do? Log base 3 of 4x. But wait a minute, shouldn't I get that 1 to the other side? So let's subtract 1 from both sides. Minus 1 and minus 1. And the 1 and the minus 1 would cancel each other out, so they're gone. And now I have equals 19. Now you can rewrite. So then, 3 to the is equal to, and then 3 to the 19th is ridiculously big. So that would not be on the test, because it'd be so painful to try to even write that number all the way out. But then if I asked you to leave it in exact form, you could just divide both sides by 4, and there's your answer. 3 to the 19th divided by 4. All right. I'm going to now put an easy one and a hard one on the board. That's the easy one. Here's a hard one. And there's no base here. So hopefully you know what base that is. I'd like you to make an XY chart. And first of all, I'd like you to tell what the asymptote is. If you don't know, I'll tell you later. And then I'd like you to tell me 3 points that would be on this graph. So these are completely separate problems. There's an easy one and a hard one. I'll pause while you try that. All right, so that is one of those times when I've said, you better make it into a log base E, because then when you see the base, you will realize that those two are the same. It's all right, I'm fine. So those two are the same, and therefore the answer on top is 5. So it's 5 over 15, which I like to factor because I say if you can factor it, you should. And that way the 5's cancel. Final answer 1/3. Raise your hand if you had 1/3. Okay. Now, those of you that got distracted on other things, I need you back here now. Because this is important. The asymptote is when this part is made equal to 1. No, if you won the asymptote, you would get 0. This is different. This is if you make this 0. How many of you knew that -2 would give you the asymptote? It's about half the room, okay. Nope, because if I put in a -2 right here, this whole thing will turn into 0, and if you've got a 0 where in the argument, then that's the moment that you found the asymptote. Okay. All right, now what is the base on this one? I said question mark because there's no number there. 10. If there's no base shown, then it means base 10. That's called the common log because it's the most common one. You can even leave the base off and it means 10. Okay, now wouldn't it be ideal if I put an 8 here? Because then I have 8 plus 2 is 10 and it's log base 10 of 10. Yes, 8 would have been a wise choice. How many of you thought to put in 8? Good. Then I'd have -1. Unless you forgot that negative in front, you probably would have had 1. All right, next up, my ideal world is this is not 10 anymore. Now it's 100. What? Well, if law had log base 10 of 100, the answer would be really simple. All right, so how do I make it be 100? If x was 98. Now, I know some of you thought that's too big. I'm not using that. Okay, that's fine. But it would have been a point. It wouldn't have been easy to graph, but it would have been a point. 98 goes in, and this becomes 100. And then log base 10 of 100 is 2, and then it's -2. Okay, so what else could you put in there? Who thought of something creative you could have put in for x? Yes? -1. And then poof, you have won the argument. Because that becomes 1, and then this makes it negative. -1, -1 is a point on this graph. Yes? Thank you for catching that. Oh my gosh, I can't believe I did that. When you make this 1, you have a 1 in the argument, you get 0, and then somehow when I multiplied it by a negative, I thought it came back to life. No, it is 0. You are correct. -1 goes with 0. Okay, so here's an example of finding 3 points. There's an example of finding the asymptote. And then I did a log base e, which is what you learned yesterday. And don't worry about me catching you. Worry about you guys understanding what's going on the test. Focus, please. I don't want to argue about who's the one distracting who over there. All right, try this one, everybody. I'm going to put a fraction out front, which makes it more challenging. This is definitely level 3 problems. Not easy. Pausing for a second while you give this a try. So this 1/2 is kind of important. You know why? Because this time you can't just figure out this answer and times it by a half because that answer doesn't work out nicely. Now, I was making the assumption here that you wouldn't be using a calculator until the end. Like I was saying in class a second ago, I want kids to prepare for both. May lean towards having a calculator, but you might not have one. So here's how you could have done it without one. That 1/2 can go up as a power on the 10. So I should have probably written it a little smaller. 10 to the 1/2, and then it's not here anymore. Why is that good? Because now those logs can be condensed together, and it's log base 2 of 10 to the 1/2. By the way, isn't it the same as the square root of 10? Yes, it is. X equals, and what's that? 1. Do you get what I've done so far? You always put 2 logs into 1. That was a no-brainer to try to get it down to just 1 log. And then I said that on the test and on your reviews, you'd probably have to typically rewrite at least 5 times. 2 to the 1 equals 10 to the 1/2. I'm going to start calling that square root of 10 x. 2 to the 1 is just 2, of course. So that was this to the this equals that. 10 to the 1/2 is the square root of 10. Final answer, 2 over the square root of 10. That was a pretty tough one. Any questions on that one? Yes? For moving the 1/2. No, you could not have. You can't combine logs if there's something in the front. You've got to take that thing in the front and put it up as a power. All right. Here's one that's a little more weird. Log base x of y equals z. Rewrite it so it's not a log anymore. ER, tell me what to do. Awesome. Then what if you were asked to name the base? What would you say? X. What about the exponent? Interesting. Z is the exponent. Here, look, isn't that an exponent? And then this is called the exponent position. And then there's only one left, and it's called the argument. And what's the argument? Y. This is the argument, which ends up out here. Okay. All right, I've covered pretty much everything that you would need to know. Now you get a bunch of time to work on the review worksheet, about 20 minutes left. So I encourage you to work on that review worksheet, and if you ever get stuck, come on up and ask. It's working out pretty nice because tomorrow is one of the days I'm available in the morning. So if you want help the day of the test, that'd be tomorrow. Come in the morning if you want, tomorrow morning, and I'll help you get ready for the test. And that's all I have for the video for today.